We hear a lot of perspectives on the Mankind podcast. Inclusion of a guest is not an endorsement of their views, and the opinions expressed here do not always represent the mission or values of the Mankind Project USA.
Looks like the rain has gone.
Welcome to the Mankind Podcast, the podcast that breaks the mold of modern manhood to prove that there's more than one way to be a man. My name is Paul, and I'm going to be your host for this podcast session. And I'm curious, have you ever been in a situation where you felt or you thought that you were the only one? Maybe you even thought that no one will understand me, or maybe no one will see me, or I feel uncomfortable to really be myself. If you've ever had those feelings or thoughts, this is the podcast for you. In this podcast, I have a session conversation with the executive director of the Brothahood of MKP, Jermaine Johnson. And the Brotherhood of MKP is a brotherhood, a group of men of obvious African ancestry. And this group is a smaller community that's created within a community, that's created within the Mankind Project. And I think this is an important session, an important discussion, because in these times when this was recorded, there's a lot of men experiencing loneliness and disconnection. And this is an opportunity to think of maybe what are the ways that you can find others that are like you, that you can share, that you can be authentic with, or what is the opportunity, or where's the opportunity for you to create that space for others? So I think you'll enjoy this, and I'm looking forward to you hearing this conversation. And if you're one of those ones that felt that, or have thought that, man, I'm alone, I don't know if there's anyone like me, just give this a listen. And we'll go from there. Blessings, and enjoy this podcast. And I'm excited to bring on my man, Jermaine Johnson.
Blessings. Yes. Thank you, bro. Thank you for welcoming me in, bro. Appreciate that.
My man. So listen, I'm going to give a brief intro of Jermaine, and then I'm going to do something that resonates with me. And I think Jermaine will appreciate this. So first of all, Jermaine is the executive director of the Brotherhood of MKP. The Brotherhood of MKP is an organization, a space for men of some obvious African ancestry. It's an opportunity for men in that space, in that container, to support each other. So before we dive in and I go into a deeper introduction of Jermaine, for those that are listening to us, so if we can close our eyes for a moment and get grounded in our feet and take the opportunity to call in and bless our ancestors that have laid the pathways for us, dreamed these spectacular dreams for that have been manifested and are manifesting today. We thank those ancestors that came before us, on whose shoulders we stand. We bless you, and we thank you for building communities within communities, so all are accepted and evolved and developed and feeling strong and secure. Thank you. Bless us as we are on this podcast today. Ashe, aho, amen, ayaya. And so it is.
Shay.
Yes. So that right there, this is what I love about these spaces with my man Jermaine. And it's a unique space to be able to create community within communities. And that's what Jermaine and I are going to discuss today. Jermaine and I are two initiated men in the Mankind Project. And give you a story about Jermaine, an introduction. I was thinking before this podcast, when was the first time I actually met you and like was connected to you? And I'm pretty sure it was in a call, whether it was through Judge or something on the Brotherhood itself. And I can remember vividly connecting with you and your vibe, your energy, your words, like how you show up in circles. And for those that are unfamiliar with these initiated spaces, when I say how you show up in circles, basically how you express yourself, how you have others feel about themselves, how you contribute to a collective energy. That's what I mean specifically about how you show up. And I appreciate how Jermaine shows up every time we're in a space together. I look at and I observe and witness how he supports others, how he makes others feel about themselves, and how he holds others to a higher standard, which I think is important in this conversation that we're having. And just with the work that we do, whether you're initiated in Mankind Project or initiated in something else or initiated in life, okay, it's a blessing to have men in the space that show up that way. And I admire Jermaine because he's a father, he's a grandfather, he's a business owner. He lives in multiple states. I got a t-shirt on in Jersey because I'm envisioning that I'm in Florida with him. So, so my man has so many things to offer and so many ways that he shows up in service. So I am honored to be able to have Jermaine on this podcast and for us to be on this podcast together in this forum. And speak some truths for us. So, Jermaine, I'm going to turn it over to you so you can introduce yourself to the people listening. In case there's some other things you want to add.
Thank you for that, bro. It's not every day you get to get introduced, you know. So I'm sitting over here in my glory, like, yeah, you know, that's me, that's me, that's what I do. so thank you for that, bro. Thank you. I think first and foremost, just to speak to community within a community, I'm going to do a quick synopsis of what the Mankind Project is, and then that will give us a little bit of background on how we are creating this community within a community, right? And so I'll give you the short version, and if you want the long version, sit in any circle and men will feel free to just tell you everything about it. So about 30 plus years ago, three men, in response to the women's movement, created an organization to support that movement, which I think, you know, in the grand scheme of things, that's just a beautiful idea, that some men saw women trying to get up in life, trying to get equality for themselves. And they thought, well, you know, these women are going to need help in doing this. They can't do this on their own. It's going to have to be men that come in to support them and give them that backbone that they need, right? And so these three men, Bill Kauth, Rich Tosi, and what's the last guy? Oh, man, I'm having a brain aneurysm right now. No, Ron Herring. Ron Herring is his name. Yeah, so it just, you know, and we have an award in his name, and I say his name a lot. I don't know how it just did that. So Bill Kauth, Rich Tosi, and Ron Herring, these men got together and got support from really, really great men like the late Robert Bly, who wrote Iron John, you know, and they created this beautiful space where men can come, learn leadership skills, sit in circle and find out what it's like to express emotions, right? Now, you got to remember, this is 30 plus years ago. This is the era of the Marlboro Man. And yeah, this is like, you know, toxic masculinity at its height, right? And so they created this space. Now, these men are all from European descent, as far as I know, right? These are white men. These are not men who look like us. Right. And 30 years ago, they did a great job creating this Mankind Project worldwide experience that you see today. So now I'm going to fast forward, right? So that's the context. So
So pause for a second. So what I'm hearing, right? So these men created a community to support another community that was within this collective community, like the U.S., right? There's a group of men. There's a select community of men that want to support this select community of women in elevating and evolution.
Yes. And they created that community within a community, right? So that's that first evolution, right? And
rocking with this theme. I feel you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's all throughout, man. The topic is gold right now, you know? And so as they evolved, they began realizing that there are way more white men in this group, naturally, especially the time that it started, than there are people of color. And they were aware of that situation. And they tried many things, bro, over the last 20 years. There were men of color that would come in the Mankind Project. Some would stay, some would get scared off. Some would feel not supported and just leave, after a few months and stuff like that. And so what was happening is...
Jermaine, so when you say that for a second, so I think this is an important piece, right? Because when you're talking about some men, I want to get a little clear on, like, let's get some examples, right? So some men, we're talking about men of color, but then there can be some men that have a different orientation, or have a different background, different ethnicity, and there may be times when, wait, I don't know, I'm failing to see some others like me. I don't know if this is safe. So I wanted to make sure we just highlighted that piece, because even men of the same race can feel some alienation there. So I just wanted to highlight that. Thank you, man. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. And thank you for that, because that's the important piece to see, right? Is that if I come into a community and I don't see anyone with my experiences, right? I don't see anyone who I can relate to on a level where when I go deep, right, and I say to you something that I'm being extremely vulnerable about. My dad left when I was 5, I was molested when I was 10, so on and so forth, right? If there's not another individual in close proximity, I could take on the idea that I'm not, I'm not welcome here. These men don't understand what my journey is, right? And so what happens is you get some men of color that would come into the organization and be sitting in a circle or at an intensive weekend that we call the New Warrior Training Adventure. And it be, one man of color and it's, 70 white guys, on the weekend. Right. And some men, who live in both worlds, who are able to navigate both, those men are most likely able to succeed in that kind of scenario. But, 95% of us, bro, we go somewhere and we the only one. The first thing we think of is, what is this? Safety is an issue.
Exit, man, in case I need it.
What happens if anything pop off? I need to know how to get out of here, and it boils down to a safety issue, right? Am I really safe in this space? And so when we fast forward now to around today, 3, 4, 5 years ago, a group of men, including, the legendary Judge Maddox, guys like Brothahood and Al Lewis, and, all of these, what I consider to be legends in the work that we do, right, in the men's work, they looked at that and they said, man, what would be helpful is if we created a community within the community for the sake of supporting those men who don't see anybody that looks like them, who don't experience, who don't have the experience that we have in sitting in circle and want to just cut and run, right? Who don't feel safe, And so that's how the idea of the Brothahood first came about. It was, how can we support new men coming in and let them know, listen, I know it's more of them than it is of us. And it's safe to be here, bro. I'm proof
Right.
positive, you know. If I gotta walk with you a little bit, then I'll walk with you a little bit. If we need to
Right.
talk offline, if we need to, sit together as just men of color and discuss things that maybe the rest of the circle can't understand, then we can do that. And that's how we begin supporting each other
Right.
within the community, right? That was the beginning. That was the
Mm.
very beginning, with the
Right. Right.
intention being, if we can show up and support those men, right, and
Right.
help in the beginning, those men will stay. So now 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that's exactly what happened, bro.
So this is wild because you said some things that resonated deeply with me when you talked about that space of some men can stay in, right? Some men can stay in it and say, okay, I'm good with this. Like I'm comfortable with this. And actually I was one of those men because growing up in a affluent white town, I recognized, like, in the project, and especially like being in more circles with men that look like me, I was like, dang, I was conditioned to just keep this mask on and really play a game in this space where I was one of the few, if not only, of, like saying whatever I needed to say to be present and be safe and then move on.
Yeah.
Rather than truly digging in and really let myself go and truly being vulnerable. And I think that when I recognized the difference in that, I think I was started on the leadership track within MKP and getting this feedback and people and, hearing from leaders like, we want you to show up more. I was like, I don't know if these cats can handle me. If I really show up how I show up, I might burn this mother hoo-ha down, son.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
so, and there's a space where I appreciate what you're saying there about having this place from the beginning to say, hey, you learned these things in this initiation. Guess what? You got a space to practice right here.
Mm-hmm.
So, so can you, Jermaine, if you can talk to, for you, when you started creating this with Judge and I call them the icons, man. So like those ones that look like us that have been here and like endured the real rocky rocks where this project was just getting started and they were one of the few in this like new space. Like, what did you see as the healing benefits of having these types of communities? And let's start with that one. Then we're going to go into some of the challenges that you experienced when you first created it.
Man, so that question, bro, is huge because it impacts on so many different levels, right? So let me speak to those icons first, right? Those men who were here when it was difficult to be in a situation like that, right? Currently, those men are actually the advisors for the Brotherhood of MKP. So these are the men who decide what direction we go in. And on a personal note, let me just tell you what I experienced from them. I get those men that say to me all the time, bro, what you are doing right now is out of this world, man. And this is a quote, right? I'm not going to say the man's name, but I'm going to tell you exactly what he said to me. He said, we have been waiting for something like this for more than 20 years to happen, right? Yeah. And in the beginning, when we started this up, a lot of those men who had traumatic experiences trying to do something like this would tell me they're never going to let you do it, right? How are you going to build this community within this community, and they may not want you to do that, and I could hear in that the trauma that occurred 20 and 30 years ago. And what I would do is I would hold hands with them and I'd look them in the eye and just say, bro, listen, I honor and respect and acknowledge all of that you went through. And what I want you to hear is, today is a new day, bro. Yeah. Yeah. And I want you to trust in me, right? to have enough trust in me to know that I'm going to take it as far as I could take it, bro. I'm gonna have as many relationships as I can possibly get. I'm gonna build until I can't build no more, and then another younger brother's gonna come right after me, bro, and keep on building.
Keep on building.
We stand on each other's shoulders, bro. That's how it works.
Man, so this right here, Jermaine, I just want to pause a second and bring the lesson and the gems in those statements you just mentioned. Because first of all, just like how when we were talking about in the beginning, when we called on the ancestors, they dreamt something, right? What I'm hearing you say is the icons, they're like, man, we've been waiting for you for 20 years. They had visions of this, and here we are, 2022, this thing has come to fruition. Now, some of the things another thing I wanted to highlight is it can be difficult to be in those situations of creating something new. So for people that are listening to this, when creating community within community and carving out specific space, there's a challenge there.
Yeah.
Because what I also heard you say, Jermaine, was that, because of the traumatic experiences, the healing process in creating this community brought up those wounds, brought up those spaces that are going to bring the challenges in anything that we look to do, especially like as men of color, right? There's going to be collective trauma and consciousness around, hey, we're going to do something different. We're going to do something that we need, right? Whoa, I don't know if they're going to let you do that. Right. And people, listen, I could take that as offense. And I've learned him as I'm seasoned, as I'm getting more seasoning. What you said too is holding them by the hand and saying, hey, okay, I'm right here with you. We're going to build on this. Okay. It's going to be something new. And then guess what? I'm holding your hand. Another cat's going to hold my hand in the future, and they're going to guide. We're all holding hands together, baby. We're all holding hands together. This is community, right? And so what I'm hearing you say is like being able to create this community within community heals those past traumas, because now you're creating a space for more men that look like you. Or listen, Jermaine and I are talking about this in the instance of men of color, right? Men of some obvious African ancestry. This can be any progressive community.
Yes.
GBTQ. It could be Asian community. It could be, listen, we're talking these deep things, but it could be like a community of Knicks lovers. I love Knicks fan TV. That's a community, because if you're a Knicks fan, it's been tough.
Right.
It's been tough. So we need each other. And coming back to some seriousness on this, man, it's like, this is the importance of what I see you're supporting the creation of, Jermaine, because, being on these calls and to speak of what you just created with the Warriors of the Infinite Sons. Did I pronounce that right? The title?
Yep.
Man, can I say, being one of the presenters and coming in and seeing 62 faces, men of color, I got chills. Man, I'm speaking right now and I got goosebumps.
Yeah.
And hearing Troy, I was so happy, like I got to carve out space after my presentation to hear Troy Harden, one of the icons, touch on like, yo, free the bee. What? Man, listen.
Yo, so you just hit on something too, man. And this is the other part to the impact question, right? So that summit you're referring to was actually the brainchild of one of our warrior brothers named Tyrone Marsh, right? So Tyrone is out of Metro New York, right? Now this brother only been initiated for maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe tops, right? Yeah. That's an example of the younger brothers, right, that are coming in and doing radical things like that. That's the first time that had ever happened in MKP history, right? That we did a summit, included all men of difference to come in and sit with each other. And you just spoke to what the impacts of that are, right? For me to sit and watch powerful men speak and deliver content, right? And monitor the way I'm feeling, what's coming up for me, how I'm feeling, what judgments are going through my head right now about the men on the screen, right? It's 62 men on here that have similar experience, bro. And the power in just that, the ripple effect is ongoing. Ever since that summit, I get phone calls, text messages, and men want to know when the next one is, how they can contribute. Yeah, it activated an entire community, bro, just like that in 2 days,
And this is the power of creating that community, right? And I keep stressing this because, well, I'm going to explain one of the reasons I keep stressing this. As I'm doing men's work and as we do men's work, some of the common themes I hear, and Jermaine, you and I have heard it in some of the circles in the men's work, is loneliness.
Yeah.
And men, we have the highest percentages of loneliness. Men of color have a high percentage of suicides. Men have a high percentage of suicides. You know why? Because, and I'm glad you're asking, because we fail to connect.
Yeah.
There are spaces, and in my judgment, there's a failure in creating these spaces to have men practice what connection looks like, what authentic expression looks like. So even when I'm with someone, because people could be with someone and still feel lonely.
Yeah.
Because there's a perception, hey, they have yet to understand who I am. They have yet to truly see me. They have yet to acknowledge me. They have yet to embrace me. So I'm gonna batten up the hatches. I'm putting the armor on, baby. You're not gonna get all this goodness.
Oh yeah.
Right? So I think so for those listening, if you're in that space where you get the sense that, I just feel like there's no one that really gets me, or I have this sense that, they don't really see me. I invite you to keep seeking or to create.
I hope you're enjoying the Mankind Podcast. The Mankind Project supports all kinds of men with men's groups and programs aimed at building self-awareness, improving relationships, and upping your game. If you're ready to take that next step and you're a man of color, check out the men's work for BIPOC men at bit.ly/menswork3.
Right? One of the two, because either path you take on that one, you're going to come to a space like Jermaine and the icons have created where there's more that look like you and that can understand and that know and can empathize with your background, your scenario, your experiences.
Yeah.
Some people like being in a space so that in some of those circles, I remember finally sharing some experiences. People were like, no.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. No, stop it.
Yeah.
I'm like, man.
Yeah. But I'm glad you spoke to that too, bro, because that's really the essence of the work that we do. One of the most powerful things that we have, especially now that we're virtual, is when we do this, right? So while you're speaking, even the men listening here, you see me do this while Paul is speaking. And it's basically to say, bro, I hear you. Like whatever it is that you're saying right now is resonating with me. And one of the most powerful things that I've ever experienced in circle and sitting with men is when I'm in a vulnerable state and I'm speaking a truth about me. I finally got enough courage, right, to speak a truth to these men on the call. And then someone in the room will say, if that resonated with you on this call, or if you've experienced that also, put your hand up. And to watch every man in the room say, I also experienced that at a time where I'm believing I'm the only one, bro. This is only me suffering like this. This is only me believing this. This is only me that feels like I'm not good enough. Because apparently when I look at Instagram and Twitter and everything, everybody feels good enough. I'm the only one that doesn't. And the reality is, bro, I'm never alone in that. You know, that's one of the
Right.
most powerful experiences I've ever had in doing this work.
Man, when you said it, I got chills.
Yeah.
I get chills every time, man. Because like you if you listen to this podcast before, you've heard the shorts about the what am I thinking of? The men's work, right? Which is the 3-week course that Mankind Project has, and Jermaine is one of the facilitators as well as me, and we've done circles together. And I can remember, man, the first time I did a circle, and we brought that concept that's in those initiated circles, right? We brought that concept to uninitiated men. The impact that in itself had, like you said, Jermaine, is extremely powerful, because in this age too, because Jermaine, I'm 46. Back my day, right? Like, and I got a 10-year-old. Back my day, there was no social media, all computer, like all refinement like we had. So, you know, there was none of this, right? And there was already instances of like, am I enough? Right? Now there's this social media where anyone can portray an image.
Yeah.
There's filters. There's audio that covers your real audio. There's like, hey, I'm going to be like this person, or hey, this is successful, I'm going to follow that path. And that right there in itself can lead to depression, that can lead to feeling lonely, because again, like, until people understand and that hand goes up as a man says something, or as a person says something, and you put your hand up, I've seen men like, oh, their shoulders settle. Like there's an exhale. This energy, just like the blocks in energy that they may have had holding on to this story that I'm by myself, all of a sudden it's like, psh,
Yeah.
it's dispersed.
Yeah. And it's amazing what happens in that moment, bro. You know, I used to be a talker, right? So when I'm uncomfortable or I'm feeling some kind of way about me, I would use a lot of words, you know? And I remember one time a man told me, stop. Just be in that moment in whatever it is that you feel. Don't put any words to it, bro. And I'm going to tell you, man, I might have cried for about 45 minutes after that. Just not being able to use the words to deflect it off and really sit in the emotion that I was in without justifying it, without judging it, without giving it words to try and shift it over somewhere else, to just be. And you know what? There were 20 other men in the room with me, and they all were silent with me. Yeah. Feel that, bro. Feel that.
I just felt that like right in my heart and solar plexus. It was just like boosh.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. What would that be like, man, if you're feeling an emotion, and instead of us talking about it, how about we just experience it? You know, that's the definition of holding space. And men, as you go through this work, you'll start to hear key phrases. And one of the phrases we use is, I'm holding space for you, right? And what that really means is that I'm aware of myself and I'm aware of you, and I'm not afraid. So if you're afraid, I can lend you that support, and we can both be in a space at the same time while I support you in whatever it is emotionally that you're experiencing. And the power behind that, bro, is incredible. You know, this is coming from a man who, when I was growing up, the only emotion you could show is joy and anger. That was it. You couldn't do any of the other emotions.
Nah. What other emotions?
Yeah. So now I'm sitting here with grown, powerful black men, powerful men saying, it's all right, bro. That sadness is welcome here. How about we just experience that with you, man? What might that be like for you? And just, oh, bro, I'm telling you, man, it's.
No. You know what? Just what came to me is, and I'm speaking from our experience working with men of color, right? Is that in our communities growing up, or as we learn, as we get taught, that space of authentic expression fails to be there most of the time. And when men first experience it, it's like, oh my goodness, this is bananas. Like, I don't, it's almost like a short circuit. And I think this is the power of building those communities within communities, because, there's a healing. I'm hearing in this, Jermaine, which as you're speaking, this is part of the healing. So as a person can go and create community within community, when that healing takes place in that smaller community, then they could take that healed version or that evolved version of themselves and show up differently in the overall community, the collective, which in itself elevates the collective.
Right.
Right? It just elevates it.
Yeah.
Jermaine, one of the things, because I'm appreciating hearing and talking about the benefits of creating these communities within the communities. And I'd like to hear from you on what are some of the challenges that you've experienced creating community within community, and how you've either overcome or how you're overcoming those challenges.
Yeah, man, great question, bro. Great question. For me personally, I'm a natural organizer. I'm a natural relationship maker. I'm very good at that, right? At creating relationships. And I'm also one of those men who are of the belief that relationships can create any goodness in the world. I mean, anything. You put the right two people together and you can create anything, right?
Magic.
And so for me, the biggest challenge for me was asking for permission from the elders and the, those icons and those legends, and asking them to trust in me to lead this charge, right? So that was the first thing, because remember, we got trauma behind that. So how do we get past that, right? And then the other part is to explain and share the vision with the entire community, right, in which to get buy-in, because no one man can do anything on his own. I can't do anything on my own, so I needed the support from the community in order to make that work. And once the idea and the intention and the energy is out there, and people begin to see what the impacts are, what the benefits are, on a personal level, what has been the change in me since this began, and then multiply that by however many other people you touch, and then they touch, and then so on and so forth. And to me, that's how you heal a whole community. It's one by one, because each one of us touch one or two people. And then those one or two people touch one or two people, and it just keeps growing, Right. And so the biggest challenge for me, if I were to name it, would be to explain the intention in a way that makes sense to everybody in the community, and then ask for all of those people, to contribute with whatever gift they have. You might be good at IT, you might be great at admin work. You might be good at communications, and all of that is great. All of those skills are not only welcome, but are needed for the movement to happen, especially when you starting something from absolutely nothing. There's nothing being passed to us. There's nothing, already created that we're just basically taking the ball and running. No, we're actually creating the wheel as we go. Which is really exciting in a lot of ways. It's not all kind of, uphill battle. A lot of it is like, seeing that man, hey, Paul, listen, man, I'm getting ready to start this thing called the Brothahood. And the intention is to support men who look like us within the community, right? To bring, to add another community within this large community that we have. And to see your reaction like, wow, bro, that's a great idea. Let's rock with that. And that energy just snowballs, bro. And before you know it, you got 65 men that are like, highly
Ready.
energized to get it in, you know?
Ready, man. You
Yeah.
said, like, man, so as you were talking, I wrote some things down because there's a couple powerful things I heard you say with that biggest challenge. Because I heard you say, like, explain the intention in a way so basically others get it. And then getting them to act and contribute in a way that's authentic to the mission, and that's authentic to them than the mission. And I'm hearing in that, like, that's a great amount of communication. And that's something that we've talked about too, like that conscious communication, really checking in. I think it's when I hear that and I'm thinking about the scenario and when you first told me about this and Judge first told me about this, there was a passion in your communication that had your intention shine through. And I think that's important for any leader, because we've been talking about community, and I think what I'd like to bring in this before we start wrapping is leadership, because in order to create a community within a community, leadership leadership gets to be activated within an individual. Mm-hmm. Because some of the things you said before, you'll be in difficult situations. Mm-hmm. You'll have people telling you something different. And the challenge I'm hearing you say here, you're gonna have to share your vision in a way that people can get it and relate to it. Yeah. Which I love what you've done. Now, this second piece that I think is important, which I see, you transparency. Jermaine and I had a conversation yesterday. We're talking about the direction where the things are going with the Brotherhood. So, if you can share this piece about, getting others to contribute, right? Their talents. There's a difference there, because you can have people contribute, right? And like, hey, I need you to do this. What you're saying is contribute in a way that's authentic to them, that they can contribute like powerfully. Talk to me about your vision on how you get that to happen, or like how you want that to happen. So
yeah, man.
I'm curious, man.
Great question, man. And I think that it all starts with doing my work, right?
What do you mean by that? Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So when I say doing my work, I mean showing up in circles and practicing how to tell myself the truth, practicing how to discern what's actually an emotion for me versus what judgment and projection, right, I'm having, right? And so the learning piece, which is why what we do in the Mankind Project is so important, because for me, I can't be an effective leader unless I'm doing my work, right? There are many, many, many leaders in the world that are not great leaders, bro, that are actually worse, that we are worse off because of their leadership. And the reason I believe that is, my judgment is that they're just not doing their work, bro, because when I do my work and I'm clear about what it is that I want, that I'm telling myself the truth about who I am and who the people are around me, when I continue to practice accountability, compassion, integrity, right? All of these key things that are the cornerstone of what we do, right? When I'm able to practice that on a daily basis, and to me, that's what sitting in circle is. It's learning the tool and then practicing it weekly with my brothers in a safe place, right? Yes, so that I can get so good at that, bro, that I can now take that into the world. Right? I can take it to my children. I can take it to my wife, to my job, to my boss, and really show up, like you were saying earlier when you defined that, really show up in my life in a good way, right? Then I take that and I become the leader, not only that I want to be, but that the community needs. And that's really important, bro. Because if I'm not doing my work, then what happens is I'm showing up with my ego running the show, right? So how can I make these people think I'm the biggest, baddest guy, or I'm the smartest guy in the room, or I'm this and I'm that, because really what's happening is I feel like I'm not good enough, right? You feel me? But if I
Yep.
get down to the crust of it and I get to that shadow piece, that belief about me that I either hide, repress, or deny, and I tell myself the truth, I no longer have to live in that ego state, bro. I can let that go. And I can really show up in a community, in my family, and really be the authentic me. And the impacts of that is that I have that impact on other people, right? So then what happens is they feel safe being around me. They don't have to put a mask on around me, right?
Yeah.
We can really get some good stuff done, man, approaching it in that way. You know, as opposed to the opposite way, which is I'm letting my ego run the show and I'm creating havoc while I'm feeding that inner demon, that inner shadow, which is just simply, I don't think I'm good enough. So I'm going to force everybody to make me feel like I'm good enough. You know, it doesn't really work that way. So to me, that's what true leadership is. And that's the reason why it's part of the cornerstone of what we do. You know, and then once we get there, we can cultivate leaders by supporting them. Hey, bro, what's your skill set? You know, what is your vocation? What is your advocation? Right. And then
you give them practice now.
Yeah. Now you can run it. Hey, bro, I'm going to give you a lead role in doing administration because you know how to do admin. So you take the lead on that. So any mistakes made, any communication that needs to be made, we can do that all in-house and practice amongst each other. You know, it's a beautiful, beautiful ecosystem, bro, when it's used in that way, you know?
Man, I'm digging. Oh, man, Jermaine, you... Man, when you were talking, I was like, testify. Man, listen, man, you brought some heat right there because... I'm appreciating what you say so much, man, because what I heard you saying this is this space is building future leaders and it's getting people to step up into leadership. You know, it's interesting because, and when I say interesting, I mean, I'm curious about this perception that people have of what leadership is, because I think every person at some point in their life will have to step into leadership. And if people fail to do the work that's required to be a leader, and look, leadership can be in a ton of different things. You know, people could take, okay, leadership of countries, leadership of businesses. It's leadership of households, leadership of communities, leadership of yourself. Work gets to get done because in order to be a leader, there gets to be spaces for you to practice. And Jermaine, I hold the Brotherhood in high regard. And after talking to you right now, I'm vibrating high right now, thinking about the future. So, since I'm thinking about the future vibrating high, before we wrap up, tell us about the future of the Brotherhood at NKP, man. Tell us about it. What do you see?
Bro, oh, man. You know, so it's funny because at the end of every year, the Brotherhood gets together in December and we do look back. You know, what have we done? You know, what are some of our acknowledgements, right? So not accomplishments, right? But acknowledgements, right? What is that? And what does that look like for us? And, you know, sometimes when I write things down, it becomes real to me, right? Because I can forget about a lot of stuff that we do throughout the year. But if I'm taking notes on that, there's something visceral. There's something that I can actually feel in my body when I actually see it, like on paper. So that's what I did for the whole group. I took all of our acknowledgements and I put it on a spreadsheet and I shared my screen, right? And the reason I say that...
Jermaine, one second. I want to pause for a second because this is a very interesting thing you said. You said acknowledgments over accomplishments. Can you real quick, because I don't want to take off too much from the future vision.
Yeah.
Well, for you, what's the distinction in having acknowledgments versus accomplishments?
Well, for me, it's when I'm speaking to a large amount of people, I'm very conscious
Right.
about the language I use, right? And there are some words that, even though we all speak in the English language, right? There are some words that could mean slightly different for you than it does for me, right? And so the reason I use words like acknowledgments is because if I say to you, hey man, one of my accomplishments is doing a Mankind Project podcast with my man Paul Newell.
Yeah.
Depending on what your experience is, you might begin thinking, why is that an accomplishment? That's just a podcast. That's just and a man can begin to go into a story and take away from what the intention of the conversation is, right? And I'm very aware of that because I do it myself. I mean, I'm the number one person that'll take a word and just it depends on what my experience is with it, right? So I use the word acknowledgement because it leaves room for you to determine what that means for you individually, right? It's your journey, bro. It's your experience, right? It's just a way of acknowledging it without putting is it an accomplishment for you? Is it something you wish you could have done more of? Is it something that you thought you were really good at? I don't know. And that's only for you to discover for you, bro. And that's one of the things I love about the work too, man. It's all about my individual experience, right?
I love that, man, because I love that, man, because you're still putting a spotlight on this thing. It's a different spotlight and a different tint using the word acknowledgement, man. Thank you for expressing that. I didn't mean to turn you off, but yeah. So tell me about the vision, the future, man, and the acknowledgements that you listed out in Excel.
Yeah, and so when the men saw it, right, everybody had the same reaction because I did the same thing after I got the whole tally down. It was like, wow, we really did all that, right? So I just wanted to preface it with that, right? So the future for the Brotherhood of MKP, there are a couple of top things for me, right? Number one is getting men around the world to realize, find, know, experience who we are, right? That's first and foremost. There's a lot of men, even within the Mankind Project, that I speak to, and they go, man, we didn't even know you guys were around, and these are men of color. Like, they don't even know, who we are or what we were doing. So part of what I'm doing this year is making sure that word gets out. That's really important so that men know we're here, then they can make an informed decision about how they want to proceed. Do they want to, if you want to leave because there's nothing here for you, that's okay. That's a choice we can all make. And if we want to stay, we know we have support around that. So that's first and foremost is putting it out there. Hey, we're here. Yeah. Here's what our intention is, and this is what we do, right? The second thing is to honor and highlight the different skill sets that we have within our communities. We have so many talented men, bro, that are in our communities that are not only willing to say, hey, man, this is my talent, but it's also an opportunity for us to honor and bless them for even having that talent, right? A lot of times in our communities, we don't get that. We don't get blessing. Hey, man, you're doing a great job. When was the last time that another man of color as an elder came to you and just put his hand on your shoulder and said, hey, bro, I bless you for all you're doing? It doesn't happen around me in the real world. So we want this to be a space where that can happen, right? And then we also have initiatives that are going on, bro, like, trainings, different trainings that men can take, initiated or uninitiated, whether you went to a weekend or not. You can come, you can take these trainings, like the men's work that you spoke about earlier. We have a crossroads training, which is like a evolution of the men's work, right? And these are all BIPOC trainings, so Black, Indigenous, people of color. So what you're going to experience are leaders leading trainings that look like you and have experiences similar to yours, right? In a group of men who look like you and have experiences like yours. And we're tackling trauma, we're tackling beliefs, we're tackling resistance, right? What's my resistance to doing certain things? And doing what we said earlier, how do we practice, doing these things? And all of that, as well as the open circles where we invite new men in just to experience, what it is that we're doing. And then, of course, the signature Wednesday night I group or integration group, which is the circle that meets every week for men of some obvious African ancestry, just to get together and sit and network and fellowship with each other, right? And that's the future. And the big piece that I want you and the listeners to know is also on these intensive weekends that we have, one of the goals, the long-term goals for us, is to always recognize communities that lack in diversity, that need support around getting a more diverse area or community around them. And also the intensive weekends. We don't want to see weekends where I'm the only guy, man of color on the weekend, So in situations like that, you might call me and say, hey, Jermaine, man, I'm going to Wisconsin on a weekend and we just need some support around that. And what we do is we mobilize the Brotherhood and we get 10 or 15 men to go staff with you, to go participate in the weekend with you, so that everywhere you go, you can see people who look like you from a support perspective,
That's powerful, man.
And what impact might that have, bro? You seeing men who look like you everywhere you turn in leadership positions, right?
Yes.
It's beautiful, bro.
You know what's wild? That brought me to this scenario, this situation. I remember we were staffing a weekend in PA. And there was a good amount of men of color on that weekend, man. And I remember we had a circle on the weekend.
Yeah,
bro, ooh, child.
A circle within a circle, like a community within a community,
circle, man. And it seemed far. And people were like, "Yo, what are these cats doing, man?" We were like, "Yo, man, can we join you?" No, this is only for us.
That's the support.
And we sat out. We were brazen with it. We were like. And it was foreign, and like, I was like, oh my goodness. There was a part of me that was like, am I doing something wrong? And I was like, hold up, I'm with my peoples, man. So I'm good. Yeah. Okay, I'm good. We're good. All right, let me sit back for a little bit. You know,
man. And the beautiful part about stuff like that, bro, is that our European brothers, man, bro, I'm gonna tell you something, man. These brothers are equally as awesome, bro. I mean, there are allies that we share space with that help us every step of the way. So this is not about the separation, it's just the Brotherhood. It's just, I get that question a lot, is why do we need the separation? And the answer I give them is it's not about separation. It's about empowerment. It's about letting men know that there is a space for them so that they can unload, they can get rid of some of that toxic stuff that they build up and then rejuvenate so that they can do what? Go back in the real world, bro, where everything is diverse, right? That's what it really is about,
Brother, man. Okay, wow. Man, Jermaine, thank you. Thank you for coming on and talking about the Brotherhood and its intentions, its purpose. I'm excited to be a part of this and support the movement, support this evolution. Jermaine, tell for the people that are listening, what are some of the ways that they can connect with the Brotherhood, or what are some of the outlets for them to keep an eye out for coming up, man? Absolutely.
So for the men who are already initiated within the project, we are on MKP Connect. So anybody who's actually initiated will have login information and all that. They can find us very easy. For the new men who are coming in, who need information, who just want to connect, want to sit in circle, want to just see what we about, they can go to mkpusa.org/brotherhood. And there they're going to find the links to the trainings. They're going to find information about us. And of course, anybody, anywhere, at any time can reach out to me direct at my full name. It's Jermaine Johnson, Jermaine, Johnson at mkp.org. Send me an email and I'll connect you wherever you need to go. You know, a lot of times I'm free to even have conversations. And you see, I like to talk. So it ain't going to be nothing if you want to talk and chop it up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a good convo. It's going to be a good conversation.
Bro,
every time.
You already know it.
Every time. Brother, man. Yo, I'm excited. Bless up to the brotherhood. Bless up to the energies that are with us on this call. Bless up to you all that are listening, that are supporting this podcast, that are supporting this movement of helping men become more conscious in so many different areas of their life and help men step into leadership, authentic, conscious leadership, so that they show up differently in the world. And thank you for supporting this space for men of color, for men of some obvious African ancestry, because there's it's needed. And as a man of color, as a black man that's been in those circles, it's powerful as a what?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm gonna invite men that are men of color, or if you listen to this and you know a man of color, like, yo, I think they like this podcast. Share this with them, and also have them invite them to the men's work. There's a BIPOC edition, because like we're there, man. Like chances are one of us is gonna be the facilitators.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Bring in the goodie.
If you're lucky, we might co-facilitate it, bro. If you're lucky, we might get a vote.
There it is. There it is. Yeah, bro. Oh man, listen, this is a blessing. Thank you. Stay connected. Create community. If you have yet to have that community, either create one or keep seeking, because it will come to you, because you're becoming the person that gets to be that community, in that community, and contribute to it. Blessings to you all. Thanks for listening, and we're out of here.
Peace.
So after listening to this podcast session with Jermaine several times in the editing process, I found so many gems that are in there for the leaders in our communities or in this collective that are carving out spaces for others like them to expand, to feel secure, to feel stable, feel safe. Thank you. This podcast episode is in gratitude to you all. And it's for those that are in communities, in grand communities, that are seeking, that are looking to connect with others that are like them, that their perspectives, yet be in a space where they can be challenged to evolve. Those are important spaces to have in these times. And I applaud all that are creating them. And I also applaud those that are seeking. And I encourage and invite you, if you're seeking these spaces, give it a go and create one. You may find that you're going to attract more of those like you that are looking for expansion, that are looking for a space to share their experiences so they can grow. You'll find that you begin to come together. So thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting the Mankind Project and the Mankind Podcast. If you found this session to be of value, I invite you to share with others. And if you are a man or know of a man of obvious African ancestry, I encourage you to go to the Brothahood, and the links and connection information are all in the show notes. Take advantage, connect, be in those spaces for evolution, growth, and connection. This is Paul. Until next time.
This has been the Mankind Podcast, produced in association with the Mankind Project USA. I have been your host, Brandon Clift, and I personally want to thank our guests for joining us today and imparting their wisdom from their experiences in this amazing journey called life. And of course, I want to thank you, the listener, because through your attention and your support, you make it a heck of a lot easier for us to let men out there in the world know that they are not alone and that there is more than one way to be a man. Special thanks, of course, goes to my incredible team, Marketing and Communications Director Boyson Hodgson, producer and editor of this episode, Michael Russo, who makes me sound so much more intelligent than I actually am, so of course, special kudos goes there. And if you've been enjoying the music throughout this episode and all of our episodes, check out Jim, Donovan, and the Sun King Warriors. I have links to them in the show notes. Now, the fee for this episode is simple. If you found gold and insights that you believe could benefit your loved ones and those you care about, be sure to share it with them. And of course, remember that life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us, so long as we rip the pen out of fate's hand and become the author of our own story. So my friend, pick up the pen and we'll see you next week. Lots of love.